Listen. I want to tell you something. What you're about to hear will make you stop whatever you are doing. Because this is the kind of story people don't forget. The kind that starts soft, and then hits hard. And it all began on a day when everything was normal, until one small thing changed, and nothing was normal again. You know what changed my life forever? A little girl with pink butterfly clips in her hair, standing on my front porch at 6 in the morning, asking me if I could walk her to school. Not her mama. Not her teacher. Me. A 42-year-old ex-con covered in tattoos who hadn't smiled in 3 years. My name's Marcus Webb, and before you think you know this story, let me tell you something. You don't. It was a Tuesday morning in Richmond, Virginia, September 2019. I remember because Tuesdays were the only day I actually dragged myself out of bed before noon. Had to meet my parole officer at 8. The alarm went off at 5:30, and I just laid there staring at the ceiling of my studio apartment, listening to the radiator clank and hiss like it was angry at the world too. I didn't want to get up. Hadn't wanted to get up for a long time now. See, I'd been out of prison for 8 months. Did 6 years upstate for armed robbery. And yeah, I did it. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I was innocent or that the system failed me or any of that. I made my choices. Bad ones. But 6 years changes a man, and not always the way people hope. I rolled out of bed, pulled on my jeans and my leather vest. The vest had seen better days, just like me. It was from my old motorcycle club, back before everything went to hell. Back when I still had brothers who answered my calls. The patch on the back said Road Kings MC. Most of the guys had moved on, found new chapters, new lives. Can't blame them. My Harley was parked right outside my building, chained up tight. In this neighborhood, you don't leave nothing valuable unsecured. Not even for 5 minutes. I lived on the east side, the part of Richmond where the houses lean a little, where every third street light is busted, where nobody makes eye contact at the corner store. I was heading down the stairs, keys jangling in my hand, when I saw her. This little black girl couldn't have been more than 7 years old, sitting on the bottom step of my building. She had her backpack on, purple with some cartoon character I didn't recognize, and she was wearing a yellow dress with white sneakers that looked too new, like her mama had just bought them special for school. She looked up at me with these huge brown eyes, and I stopped cold. "You live here?" she asked me. Just like that. No fear. No hesitation. I nodded, confused. "Yeah." "You lost?" "No." She stood up, and I noticed she was holding the straps of her backpack real tight, like she was trying to keep her hands from shaking. "I live over there." She pointed across the street to a row of townhouses that looked just as tired as mine. "In the blue one." "Okay," I said slowly. "Where's your mama?" "She already left for work." "She works at the hospital." "She leaves at 5. 5 in the morning." That meant this little girl had been alone since 5. It was barely 6 now. "Who's watching you?" I asked, and even as the words came out, I felt something twist in my chest. Some old instinct I thought I'd buried. "Nobody," she said simply. "I watch myself. I'm good at it." I stood there on that step, looking down at this child who was good at watching herself, and I didn't know what to say. Behind me, someone's door slammed. A dog barked in the distance. The whole neighborhood was waking up, getting ready for another day of surviving. "What's your name?" I finally asked. "Amara." She said it proud, like it meant something. "Amara Johnson." "Amara. That's pretty." "I'm Marcus." She smiled a little, and I saw she was missing one of her front teeth. "Marcus," she repeated. "You got a motorcycle?" "Yeah, I do. I seen you riding it. It's loud." I almost smiled. "Almost." "Yeah, it is." Then she asked me the question that changed everything. "Can you walk me to school?" I blinked. "What?" "Can you walk me to school?" she said again, and this time her voice was quieter, smaller. It's just down the street. At the corner. But, there's some boys. Big boys. They wait by the alley on Chamberlain Street, and they say things to me. Mean things. And yesterday one of them pulled my backpack and I fell down, and nobody helped me. Everybody just walked past. My jaw clenched. I felt that old anger rising up, the kind that got me in trouble before. How old are these boys? I don't know. Big. Like, teenager big. 16, 17 probably. Old enough to know better. Old enough to know you don't mess with a little girl walking to school. Where's your daddy? I asked. Her face changed. Just a flicker, but I saw it. I don't got one. Other family? Grandma? Aunts? My grandma lives in North Carolina. My mama says we can't afford the bus to see her. I looked down at Amara, at this 7-year-old girl who'd been watching herself since 5 in the morning, who was standing on a stranger's steps asking for help because she was scared to walk to school, and something in me just broke open. Or maybe it woke up. I don't know. What time you gotta be at school? I asked. 7:30. I checked my watch. 6:05. My parole appointment was at 8. I could walk her, make it back, and still have time to get across town. All right, I said. Let's go. Her whole face lit up. Really? Yeah. Really. But just today, okay? Just today, and then you tell your mama she needs to figure something else out. Okay. She practically bounced down the last step. We started walking. She was on my right side, and she kept looking up at me every few seconds like she couldn't believe I was actually there. The morning was cool, that early fall kind of cool where you can still feel summer hanging on by its fingernails. The street was quiet except for the occasional car rumbling past, and somewhere a mother was yelling at her kids to hurry up. You been riding motorcycles a long time? Amara asked. Yeah. Long time. My mama says motorcycles are dangerous. Your mama's right. But you still ride one. Yeah. Why? I thought about that. How do you explain to a 7-year-old that sometimes danger feels better than safety? That sometimes the only time you feel alive is when you're doing something that could kill you? Makes me feel free, I said instead. It wasn't a lie. Just wasn't the whole truth. Free, she repeated, like she was testing out the word. I want to feel free. We turned the corner onto Chamberlain Street, and I saw them. 4 boys, maybe 15 or 16, leaning against the brick wall of an abandoned building. They were passing around a vape pen and laughing about something. When they saw us coming, they straightened up. I felt Amara move closer to me. Her hand brushed against my arm. The boys watched us approach. One of them, wearing a red hoodie, stepped forward. He had that look, you know? That young and stupid and trying to prove something look. I knew that look. I'd worn that look 25 years ago. Yo, that's the little girl. Red Hoodie said to his friends, laughing. Yo, butterfly girl. Where you going? Amara didn't say anything. She just kept walking, but I felt her fingers grab onto my vest. Hey, I'm talking to you. Red Hoodie called out. I stopped walking. The boy took a few steps toward us, his friends trailing behind like hyenas. Who's this? Your daddy. He laughed. Nah, you ain't got no daddy. Your mama told my cousin you ain't got no. Walk away, I said. My voice came out low, quiet. The voice I used to use in the joint when I needed someone to understand I was serious. Red Hoodie stopped. He looked at me for the first time, really looked, and I saw the moment he clocked the vest, the tattoos running down my arms, the way I was standing. The way men who've done time stand. We just playing, man, he said, but his voice had changed. I said walk away. There was a long moment where nobody moved. Traffic hummed on the street behind us. A bus whizzed past. Somewhere a baby was crying. Then Red Hoodie nodded, tried to save face with a laugh. Whatever, man. We don't want no trouble. They walked away, throwing looks back over their shoulders, but they walked away. Amara let out a breath I didn't know she'd been holding. They're gonna leave you alone now, I told her. Okay? She nodded, still pressed against my side. We kept walking, and 2 blocks later we reached the school. Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary. The building was old brick, probably built in the 50s, with a chain-link fence around a concrete playground. Kids were streaming in through the front entrance, parents dropping them off, buses pulling up to the curb. This is it, Amara said. But she didn't move toward the entrance. She just stood there looking up at me. You gonna be okay? I asked. Yeah. Then, quieter, thank you, Marcus. Something twisted in my chest again. Tighter this time. Go on, I said. You're gonna be late. She started to walk away, then turned back. Can you walk me tomorrow too? I opened my mouth to say no. To say this was a one-time thing. To say I had my own problems and couldn't be looking after somebody else's kid. But what came out was, we'll see. She smiled that gap-toothed smile again and ran toward the school. I watched her go, watched her disappear through those doors, and I felt something I hadn't felt in 6 years. Maybe longer. I felt like I mattered. I made it to my parole appointment on time. Officer Chin was her usual self, tired, overworked, not particularly interested in my life as long as I wasn't violating. She asked her questions. I gave my answers. She checked her boxes. 15 minutes and I was done. But all day, all I could think about was that little girl asking me if I'd walk her tomorrow. And those boys on Chamberlain Street. And what might happen if I didn't. By the time the sun started setting, I'd made up my mind. I was gonna walk her again. Just to make sure those punks got the message. Just one more time. That's what I told myself. But the next morning, when I walked downstairs at 5:50, Amara was already sitting on my step, backpack on, waiting. In the morning after that. By Friday, I wasn't even setting my alarm. I was just waking up at 5:30 on my own, getting dressed, and going downstairs to where she'd be waiting. We didn't talk much on those walks. She'd tell me about school sometimes, about her teacher Mrs. Patterson who was nice, about the girl named Keisha who shared her crayons. I mostly just listened. But on Friday, when we got to the school, something was different. There was a woman waiting at the fence. Thin, black, wearing hospital scrubs and looking exhausted and angry. When she saw us coming, she walked straight toward us. Amara Johnson, she said, and her voice had that mother tone that makes kids freeze. What did I tell you about bothering people? Mama, and you, the woman turned to me, and I saw fire in her eyes. I don't know who you think you are, but my daughter. Mama, he's helping me. Amara said desperately. The boys on Chamberlain Street. Her mother stopped. What boys? And that's when everything changed. If you're watching this, do me a favor and hit that like button. I need to know you're with me, because this story gets deeper than you think. And trust me, what happens next? You're not gonna believe it. What did Amara's mother do when she found out about those boys? Did she thank Marcus or call the police on him? Drop a comment with your guess right now, because the next chapter is coming and it's gonna blow your mind. Amara's mother stared at her daughter. Then at me. Then back at her daughter. What boys on Chamberlain Street? She asked again, and her voice had changed from angry to something else. Something scared. Amara looked down at her shoes. The big boys. They wait by the alley every morning and they say things and they pulled my backpack and I fell and nobody helped me and I was scared. Mama, I was really scared, so I asked Marcus to walk with me because he has a motorcycle and he looks tough and they leave me alone when he's there. Every word came out in a rush, like she'd been holding it in for days. Maybe she had been. Her mother's face went through about 5 different emotions in 3 seconds. Fear. Anger. Guilt. More fear. Then something harder, like stone. She looked at me, really looked at me this time, and I stood there under her gaze feeling like I was on trial. She was taking in the tattoos, the vest, the way I carried myself. She was making calculations. Weighing risks. Trying to figure out if I was safe or if I was a different kind of danger. How long has this been going on? She asked her daughter, but she kept her eyes on me. Since Monday, Amara said quietly. 5 days. Her mother's voice was flat. You've been walking with this man for 5 days and you didn't tell me. I'm sorry, Mama. What's your name? She asked me directly. Marcus Webb. You live in this neighborhood, Marcus Webb? Yes, ma'am. Across from you. Been there about 8 months. You got kids? The question hit harder than I expected. No, ma'am. You got a record? I could have lied. Should have lied, probably. But something about standing there in front of this exhausted mother in hospital scrubs who was working so hard she had to leave her baby alone at 5 in the morning made me tell the truth. Yes, ma'am. I did 6 years. Got out 8 months ago. I watched her process that. Watched her face harden even more. So you're telling me my daughter's been walking to school with an ex-con and didn't tell me? Mama, Amara started. Hush. She held up a hand, still looking at me. What were you in for? Armed robbery. Behind us, a school bell rang. Kids were filing into the building. Amara shifted her backpack, anxious. I need to go to class, Mama, she said softly. Her mother looked at her, and I saw her face soften just a fraction. Go. We'll talk about this at home. Amara hesitated, looking between us. Then she ran toward the school entrance, throwing one last worried glance back at me. When she was gone, her mother turned back to me, and the softness was gone. Let me make something very clear to you, Marcus Webb, she said, and despite being about 5'4" and 110 pounds, she suddenly seemed 10 feet tall. I don't know what your angle is. I don't know if you're trying to get close to my daughter for some sick reason, or if you're trying to make yourself feel better about whatever you did, or if you're just bored. But that little girl is my daughter. She's all I have in this world. Her daddy died when she was 2 years old. Overdose. So it's just me and her against everything, and I will END you if you hurt her. I will END you. Do you understand me? I understood her perfectly. I'm not trying to hurt anyone, I said. Those boys on Chamberlain Street were messing with her. She asked me to walk her. That's it. That's it, she repeated, like she didn't believe me. That's it. We stood there in silence for a long moment. A car drove past, music thumping from the speakers. Across the street, someone was arguing in Spanish. My name's Tanya, she finally said. Tanya Johnson. I work nights at VCU Medical Center. I'm a nurse. Single mother. I leave for work at 5 a.m. and I get home around 6:30 p.m., and in between, my daughter is alone for an hour and a half every morning and 3 hours every afternoon because I can't afford before or after school care on top of rent and food and everything else. So yes, she watches herself. And no, I don't like it. But that's what we got. The way she said it, defensive and exhausted and daring me to judge her, it hit me somewhere deep. I'm not judging you, I said. Everyone judges me. I'm not everyone. She studied my face, looking for the lie, and I guess she didn't find it because she sighed, and suddenly she looked about 20 years older. Why did you help her? Tanya asked. You don't know us. You don't owe us anything. I thought about that question. Really thought about it. Because she asked, I said finally. Because she was scared and she asked for help and I don't know. I couldn't say no. Tanya's eyes got a little wet, but she blinked it back. Those boys on Chamberlain Street. How bad was it? Nothing happened while I was there, I said. But the way she talked about it, yeah. It was bad enough. She closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them, she looked directly at me. If I let you keep walking her to school, and that's a huge if, I need to know everything about you. I need references. I need your parole officer's name. I need to know where you work, if you work. I need to know you're not going to disappear one day or get locked up again or put my daughter in danger. Can you give me that? Yes, ma'am. And I need to know this isn't some kind of, I don't know, redemption project for you. That you're not using my daughter to make yourself feel better about your past. That one stung because it was probably a little bit true. Maybe it started that way, I admitted. Maybe part of me just needed to do something good. Something that mattered. But it's not about me anymore. It's about her getting to school safe. Tanya nodded slowly. Okay. Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna give me all that information, parole officer, address, phone number, everything. I'm gonna check you out. I'm gonna call people. And if anything seems off, this stops immediately. Understand? Yes, ma'am. And you're never alone with her. Never in a car, never in a house, always in public. And if she ever tells me you said something inappropriate or made her uncomfortable in any way, you'll end me. I got it. A small, tired smile flickered across her face. Yeah. I will. She pulled out her phone and I gave her all my information. Parole officer's name and number. My address. My cell. She typed it all in, and I could see her mind already working, already planning how she was gonna verify everything. I work at the auto shop on Broad Street, I added. Started there 3 weeks ago. Part-time. Changing oil, basic stuff. My boss's name is Ray Torres. You can call him too if you want. She nodded, still typing. I will. When she was done, she looked up at me again, and her face was impossible to read. My shift ends at 6 a.m. tomorrow, she said. I'll be home by 6:30. If I decide this is okay, then you can walk her at 7. I'll have coffee ready. We can talk more. Okay. But Marcus? She stepped closer, and even though she barely came up to my chest, I felt the weight of her. If you're lying to me. If you're playing some game. If you hurt my daughter in any way. Prison won't protect you from me. Do you hear what I'm saying? I hear you. She held my gaze for another 5 seconds, then turned and walked toward her car, an old Honda Civic with a dented bumper and a missing hubcap. I watched her drive away and realized my hands were shaking. That was Friday morning. Friday afternoon, I got 3 phone calls. First was from Officer Chen, my parole officer, telling me someone had called asking about me and did I want to explain what was going on. I explained. She was quiet for a long minute, then said, "Just don't mess this up, Webb. And stay out of trouble." Second call was from Ray at the auto shop, saying the same woman had called him asking if I really worked there and what kind of employee I was. I told her, "You're quiet, you show up on time, and you don't steal," Ray said. That's more than I can say for most people. What's this about? I told him. He laughed. You? Walking a little girl to school? Never thought I'd see the day. Neither did I. The third call came at 8 p.m. that night. Unknown number. This is Tanya Johnson, the voice said when I picked up. Tomorrow morning. 7 a.m. Don't be late. She hung up before I could respond. I didn't sleep that night. Just laid in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering what I'd gotten myself into. Wondering if this was a mistake. Wondering if I was capable of being the person this little girl seemed to think I was. At 6:30 the next morning, Saturday morning, I walked across the street to the blue townhouse and knocked on the door. Tanya answered. She was still in her scrubs, still looked exhausted, but she'd pulled her hair back and there was coffee brewing somewhere behind her. I could smell it. Come in, she said. The house was small but clean. Lived in clean, not staged clean. There were pictures on the walls, mostly of Amara at different ages. A few of Tanya with an older woman who might have been her mother. One photo showed Tanya much younger, maybe early 20s, with a man. Both of them were laughing. The man had Amara's eyes. "That's Jerome," Tanya said, following my gaze. "Amara's father. He was a good man before the drugs. Best man I ever knew. But the drugs, they took him piece by piece until there wasn't anything left." "I'm sorry," I said. "Yeah. Me too." She gestured toward the small kitchen table. "Sit." I sat. She poured 2 cups of coffee, sat one in front of me, and sat across from me with hers. For a minute, neither of us said anything. "I talked to your parole officer," Tanya finally said. "She says you've been clean since you got out. No violations. No trouble. She also said you did your full 6 years because you wouldn't snitch on your co-defendant." I didn't say anything. "I talked to Ray at the auto shop. He says you're a good worker. Quiet. Reliable." I still didn't say anything. "I did a background check. Armed robbery, just like you said. Before that, some minor stuff when you were younger. Assault. Possession. But nothing with kids. Nothing sexual. Nothing violent toward women." "No ma'am," I said quietly. "Never." She wrapped her hands around her coffee mug. "Tell me why you robbed that store, Marcus. Does it matter?" "Yes." I took a breath. I was broke. My motorcycle club, the Road Kings, we were having trouble. Rival club was trying to push us out. There was gonna be a war, and wars cost money. Guns cost money. I thought I was helping my brothers. Thought I was doing what needed to be done. And I was stupid. I walked into a convenience store at 2 a.m. with a gun and a ski mask, and the owner had a silent alarm, and cops were there in 3 minutes. My partner got away. I didn't. I took the fall for both of us because that's the code. You don't snitch on your brothers. Was it worth it? She asked. 6 years of your life for a code? I thought about that. About 6 years in a cage. About losing everything. About getting out to find that most of my brothers had moved on without me. No, I said honestly. It wasn't. Tanya nodded like that was the answer she'd expected. Here's what I need you to understand, she said. Amara is my whole world. She's smart. She's kind. She tries so hard to be brave even when she's scared. Her father's death broke something in her, and I've spent 5 years trying to put it back together. She doesn't trust easily. Doesn't ask for help easily. So if she asked you for help, that means something. But it also means I have to be extra careful, because she's vulnerable and I can't let anyone take advantage of that. I understand. Do you? Tanya leaned forward. Because I need you to understand that this can't be a temporary thing. If you're gonna walk her to school, you can't just do it for a week and then disappear when you get bored or when it gets inconvenient. She's already lost one man in her life. I won't let her lose another. The weight of what she was saying hit me. I'm not trying to be her father, I said. I know. But you're becoming something to her. Something important. And that means you have a responsibility. We sat in silence for another moment. Can I ask you something? I said. Yeah. Why are you letting me do this? You could just drive her to school yourself. Or find someone else. Why take a chance on an ex-con you don't know? Tanya smiled, but it was sad. Because I'm desperate, Marcus. Because I'm a single mother working 60 hours a week just to keep a roof over our heads, and I'm drowning, and my baby asked someone for help and that someone actually helped. Do I wish it was someone without a record? Someone safe and normal with a 9-to-5 and a wife and a white picket fence? Yeah. But that's not who showed up. You did. and I have to make a choice between perfect safety that doesn't exist and imperfect help that's standing right in front of me. Before I could respond, I heard footsteps on the stairs, and Amara appeared in the kitchen doorway, still in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. When she saw me sitting at the kitchen table, her whole face lit up. "Marcus," she said. "You came." "I came," I said. She ran over and stood next to my chair, suddenly shy. "Are you gonna walk me to school on Monday?" I looked at Tanya. She looked back at me, and I saw the question in her eyes. "Are you in? Or are you out?" "Yeah," I said to Amara. "I'm gonna walk you to school on Monday." "And Tuesday?" "And Tuesday." "And every day?" I hesitated, because every day was a big promise. Every day was a commitment. Every day meant I was signing up for something I wasn't sure I was ready for. But then I looked at this little girl with hope in her eyes, and I heard myself say, "Yeah, baby girl. Every day." Amara threw her arms around my neck, and I froze because I couldn't remember the last time anyone had hugged me. In prison, you don't touch people. You don't let them touch you. It's a rule you learn fast. But Amara was hugging me, and after a second, I put one hand on her back, awkward and uncertain, and just let her. When she pulled away, she was beaming. "I'm gonna go get dressed." She ran back upstairs, and I was left sitting there with Tanya, who was watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, even though I wasn't sure. "Yeah, I'm okay." Monday came, and I walked Amara to school. Tuesday too. Wednesday. Thursday. Friday. Every morning at 7 a.m., she'd come out of her house in her yellow dress or her blue jeans or whatever she was wearing, backpack on, and we'd walk those 6 blocks together. The boys on Chamberlain Street never bothered us again. Other people started noticing, though. Neighbors would watch us walk by, and I could see them doing the math. Big scary-looking biker dude walking with a little black girl. They had questions. Some of them asked Amara directly. "Who's that man? Is that your uncle? Does your mama know you're with him?" Amara would just say, "That's Marcus. He's my friend." By the second week, some of the other kids started saying hi to me. By the third week, I knew half their names. And then, 3 weeks in, everything changed again. It was a Wednesday morning, middle of October. The air had turned cold overnight, that first real cold snap that reminds you winter's coming. Amara was wearing a jacket that was too thin, and I made a mental note to mention it to Tanya. We were half a block from the school when I saw them. 2 men. Standing by the fence. Watching the kids go in. One of them I didn't recognize. But the other one. My blood went cold. The other one was Danny Reeves. Danny and I had been in the Road Kings together. He was there the night of the robbery. He was my partner. The one who got away while I went to prison. The one I never snitched on. Danny saw me at the exact same moment I saw him. His eyes went wide. Then his face split into a grin, but it wasn't a friendly grin. It was the kind of grin a shark makes. He started walking toward us. "Marcus," he called out. "Marcus Webb. Man, I heard you were out. Been meaning to come find you." Amara looked up at me, confused. "You know him?" I wanted to turn around. Wanted to grab Amara and run. But we were 10 feet from the school entrance, and Danny was closing the distance fast. "Hey, man," Danny said, reaching us. "Long time no see." 6 years, right? He laughed. 6 long years. Up close, he looked different. Thinner. Harder. There were new tattoos on his neck, and his eyes had that look that comes from too many pills or too much powder. "What are you doing here, Danny?" I asked quietly. "Oh, you know. Just in the neighborhood." His eyes slid down to Amara. "Who's this? You got a kid now, Marcus? That's beautiful, man. That's really beautiful." "She's not my kid," I said. I'm just walking her to school. Walking her to school, Danny repeated, like he was tasting the words. That's sweet. Real community service, right? Making up for lost time? There was something in his voice. Something that made my skin crawl. Amara, I said. Go on inside. I'll see you tomorrow. She looked uncertain, glancing between me and Danny. Go on, I said again, gentler. She went, but she kept looking back. When she was through the doors, I turned to Danny. What do you want? His smile dropped. What do I want? Are you serious right now? I want you to remember who your brothers are, Marcus. I want you to remember who was there before you went away. Not some random kid you're playing daddy to. I'm not playing anything. And you're not my brother anymore. His face darkened. That right? That what you think? After everything? You disappeared, Danny. All of you did. I did 6 years and nobody answered my letters. Nobody put money on my books. Nobody came to visit. You moved on without me. Life moves on, man. We had to adapt. But now you're back, and guess what? The club needs you. There it was. No, I said. No? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You don't even know what I'm asking. I don't need to know. The answer's no. I'm done with that life. Danny stepped closer, and I smelled cigarettes and something chemical on his breath. You think you're done? He said softly. You think you get to just walk away from the Road Kings and play house with some kid? It doesn't work like that, Marcus. You're in for life. That's what you swore. Or did you forget? I didn't forget. But I did my time. I earned my way out. You earned nothing, Danny hissed. You kept your mouth shut like you were supposed to. That's not earning out. That's just basic loyalty. And now we're collecting on that loyalty. My heart was pounding. I said no. Danny stared at me for a long moment. Then he smiled again, and it was worse than the anger. Okay, he said. Okay, Marcus. I hear you. But let me tell you something. We know where you live. We know where you work. And now, he glanced toward the school, we know where your little friend goes to school. So you think real careful about your answer. Real careful. Because if you're not with us anymore, then you're against us. And you remember what we do to people who are against us. He patted my shoulder, like we were old friends, and walked away. I stood there shaking, watching him disappear around the corner. And I realized with a sinking feeling that everything I'd tried to build in the last 3 weeks, this tiny, fragile, good thing I'd found, was about to come crashing down. Because the Road Kings wanted me back. And they weren't asking. Drop a comment right now if you think Marcus should tell Tanya what just happened. Because what he decides in the next 24 hours, it's gonna determine if Amara stays safe, or if everything falls apart. Hit that subscribe button because next chapter is coming and I promise you, you are not ready for where this goes. I didn't go home after leaving the school. Couldn't. My hands were shaking too bad to hold the handlebars of my bike, and my mind was racing faster than any engine. I ended up at the auto shop 2 hours early. Ray took one look at me and pointed to the break room without saying a word. I sat there drinking burnt coffee that tasted like motor oil, trying to figure out what to do. Danny Reeves was back in my life. After 6 years of silence. After 6 years of me rotting in a cell while he walked free. And now he wanted something. The Road Kings needed me. No. That wasn't right. The Road Kings wanted to use me. There's a difference. I pulled out my phone 3 times to call Tanya. 3 times I stared at her number. 3 times I put the phone back in my pocket. What was I supposed to say? Hey, so remember how you took a chance on an ex-con to walk your daughter to school? Well, funny story, my old motorcycle club just threatened you both and wants me to do something illegal or else they're gonna hurt the people I care about. Yeah. That would go over real well. By the time my shift ended at 4 p.m., I still hadn't decided what to do. I rode home on autopilot, barely seeing the traffic, barely hearing the city noise around me. When I pulled up to my building, I sat on my bike for 10 minutes, just staring at Tanya's blue townhouse across the street. The lights were on inside. I could see shadows moving behind the curtains. Amara was home. Safe. For now. I finally went inside my apartment, threw my keys on the counter, and just stood there in the middle of my studio, feeling the walls close and like I was back in my cell. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. "Marcus," Danny's voice said. "We need to talk. Tonight. The old warehouse on Decatur Street. 9 p.m. Don't be late." He hung up before I could respond. I looked at the time. 4:30. 4.5 hours to decide if I was gonna walk into whatever trap Danny was setting, or if I was gonna run. But where would I run? And what would happen to Amara if I did? At 6:15, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find Tanya standing there, still in her scrubs, looking worried. "Amara told me a man came up to you at school today," she said without preamble. "A man you knew. She said he seemed mean and you seemed scared. What's going on?" I stepped back to let her in. She walked into my tiny apartment, taking in the nearly empty space, just a bed, a small table, a TV on a crate, my motorcycle gear in the corner. The life of a man who'd learned not to own things that could be taken away. "Sit down," I said. "I'd rather stand." "Tanya. Please. Sit down." Something in my voice made her listen. She sat on the edge of my bed, the only real place to sit, and I pulled out my one chair and sat facing her. "The man at school was Danny Reeves," I started. "He was my partner the night I got arrested. The robbery. He's the one who got away while I went to prison." Tanya's eyes widened. "He's here? In Richmond?" "Apparently. And he wants me back in the club. The Road Kings. Says they need me for something." "What kind of something?" "He didn't say. But knowing Danny? Knowing how the club operates? Nothing good. Nothing legal." Tanya stood up. Okay, this is done. You're not walking Amara anymore. I'll figure something else out." "Tanya." "No." She turned on me, and her eyes were blazing. "You brought danger to my daughter's school, Marcus. Your past just showed up at her school and threatened." "He didn't threaten her," I interrupted. "He threatened me. But he made it clear that he knows where she goes to school. And I think if I don't do what he wants, he'll use that information." The color drained from Tanya's face. "Oh my God. But if I do what he wants, I'll end up back in prison. Or dead. And either way, I won't be able to protect her." "Protect her?" Tanya's voice went up. "You can't protect her. You're the reason she needs protection now. She wasn't wrong." "I know," I said quietly. "I know, and I'm sorry. I never thought. I didn't know Danny was in town. I didn't know the club was gonna come looking for me. I thought I was done with all that." "But you're not done," Tanya said. "You're never done, are you? That's how this works. You think you can walk away from that life, but it follows you. It always follows you." She was right about that too. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside, a car alarm started blaring. Someone yelled at someone else to shut it off. "What are you gonna do?" Tanya finally asked. "I don't know yet. Danny wants to meet tonight. 9 p.m. Are you gonna go?" "I think I have to. I need to know what he wants. Need to know what kind of threat we're dealing with." "We?" Tanya shook her head. "There is no we, Marcus. There's you and your past, and there's me and my daughter who I need to keep safe from your past." "I understand." But Tanya, whether I walk away right now or not, they know about Amara. They know about you. If I disappear, Danny might take that as disrespect. Might decide to send a message. And if you don't disappear, if you go to this meeting, then maybe I can convince him to leave you both alone. Maybe I can. I don't know. Make some kind of deal. What kind of deal? I didn't answer because I didn't know. Didn't want to think about what Danny might ask for. What the Road Kings might want me to do. Tanya stood up again. I need to go. I need to think about this. I need to figure out how to keep my daughter safe. I'm gonna fix this, I said. I promise. She looked at me, and her eyes were wet. Don't make promises you can't keep, Marcus. My daughter's already lost one man who made promises he couldn't keep. She walked out, and I heard her footsteps going down the stairs, heard the building door close, heard her cross the street to her house. I sat there until 8:30. Then I put on my vest, got on my bike, and rode to Decatur Street. The warehouse was exactly where I remembered it. Old brick building, half the windows broken, graffiti covering every surface. This was where the Road Kings used to meet back in the day. Back before I went to prison. Back when we thought we were badass and untouchable and that Brotherhood meant something. There were 5 motorcycles parked outside when I pulled up. I recognized 2 of them. I walked in through the rusted metal door, and the inside was exactly how I remembered too. Concrete floors. Exposed beams. That smell of oil and dust and old cigarettes. 7 men were waiting for me. Danny stood in the center, flanked by guys I recognized and a couple I didn't. There was Marcus Tiny Patterson, 6'5", 300 pounds of muscle. There was Jimmy Cross, who always had a toothpick in his mouth and a pistol on his hip. The others I didn't know, but they had the look. Young. Hungry. Stupid. There he is. Danny called out when he saw me. Marcus Webb. The man who kept his mouth shut. A real brother. I didn't respond. Just walked closer, keeping my distance, keeping my eyes on all of them. You came, Danny said. I wasn't sure you would. You didn't give me much choice. That's true. That's very true. Danny started pacing, and I tracked his movement. So here's the situation, Marcus. The Road Kings, we've evolved since you've been gone. We're not just riding around looking tough anymore. We're in business. Real business. And business is good. What kind of business? I asked, even though I already knew. The kind that pays, Danny said, grinning. We move product. Pills mostly. Some powder. We've got connections in Baltimore, D.C., even down to Charlotte. It's a whole network, and we're making serious money. Drug trafficking. Of course. I'm not interested, I said. You haven't even heard the offer yet. Don't need to. I told you this morning. I'm done with the club. Danny stopped pacing. See, that's where you're confused. You think you got a choice. But you don't. Because we've got a problem, Marcus. We've got a shipment coming in from Baltimore next week. Big shipment. Worth about $500,000. And we need someone to pick it up and bring it back to Richmond. Get one of these guys to do it, I said, gesturing to the young ones. Can't. They're known. Cops have been watching us. Got pulled over 3 times in the last month, and we're pretty sure someone's running their mouth. But you. Danny pointed at me. You're perfect. You're clean. You've been out 8 months with no violations. No heat. You do your 9 to 5 at the auto shop like a good boy. Nobody's watching you. No. Marcus. I said no, Danny. My voice came out harder than I intended. I'm not risking going back to prison. Not for you. Not for the club. Not for $500,000. I'm done. The warehouse went quiet. The other men shifted, hands moving to waists, to pockets. Tiny cracked his knuckles. Danny smiled, but his eyes were cold. "Okay," he said softly. "Okay, I understand. You've got a new life now. You've got your little job. You've got your little routine. You're walking that cute kid to school every morning, playing protector. That's nice. That's real nice, Marcus. So let me ask you something. What do you think happens to that cute kid if you say no to me?" My blood turned to ice. "Don't," I said. "Danny, don't you dare." "What?" Danny spread his hands innocently. "I'm just asking a question. I'm just wondering what might happen if, say, someone showed up at Martin Luther King Elementary one afternoon. Maybe waited around. Maybe followed a certain little girl in a yellow dress home. Maybe knocked on her door when her mama's at work and she's home alone for 3 hours every afternoon. I was moving before I realized it, crossing the distance between us, grabbing Danny by his jacket. 'You touch her and I will kill you,' I said, and I meant every word. Hands grabbed me from behind, Tiny and Jimmy, pulling me back. I struggled, but Tiny had me in a lock I couldn't break. Danny straightened his jacket, still smiling. 'See? That's what I thought. You do care about that kid. Which means you're gonna do exactly what we tell you to do. Because if you don't..." He shrugged. "Well, accidents happen. Kids disappear. Mothers get hurt. It's a dangerous world out there, Marcus. You know that better than anyone. You're threatening a child," I said, still struggling against Tiny's grip. "A 7-year-old girl. What happened to you, Danny? When did you become this?" "I became smart," Danny said. "I became someone who survives. Someone who wins. You should try it sometime." They let me go, and I stumbled forward, breathing hard. "Here's how this works," Danny continued. "Next Friday, you drive to Baltimore. We'll give you the address. You pick up the shipment. You drive it back here. You drop it off. 4 hours of work, tops. You do that, and we leave you alone. We leave your little family alone. Everybody wins. And if I go to the cops..." Danny laughed. "And tell them what? That your old motorcycle club asked you to commit a crime? They'll ask why. They'll ask about our history. They'll start investigating you, Marcus. Your parole officer will hear about it. You'll get violated just for associating with known criminals. Is that what you want? You want to go back inside?" He had me. He knew it. I knew it. "I need time to think," I said. "You've got until Sunday. That's 2 days. Sunday night, 9 p.m., you text me your answer. Yes or no." "But Marcus..." Danny stepped closer again. "Choose carefully. Because if you say no, that little girl and her mama, they become the club's problem to solve. And we solve problems permanently." I didn't remember leaving the warehouse. Didn't remember getting on my bike or riding home. The next thing I knew, I was sitting on the floor of my apartment at midnight, staring at nothing, trying to breathe. They'd threatened Amara. They'd threatened Tanya. And I'd brought this on them by trying to do something good. By trying to be someone better. I pulled out my phone and looked at Tanya's number again. I needed to tell her. Needed to warn her. But what good would that do? What could she do? Move? She couldn't afford to move. Quit her job? She couldn't afford that either. Call the cops? And tell them what? That a motorcycle club might do something? No. The cops wouldn't help. They never did. I had 2 choices. Do what Danny wanted and become a drug mule, risking everything I'd built, risking going back to prison. Or say no and risk Danny hurting the only 2 people who'd mattered to me in years. Some choice. I sat there on that floor until the sun came up Thursday morning. Didn't sleep. Couldn't. At 6:30, I looked out my window and saw Tanya leaving for work, getting into her Honda, driving away. 20 minutes later, I saw Amara come out of the house, backpack on, looking across the street at my building. I watched her sit on her front step and wait. 7 a.m. came and went. 7:15. 7:20. She kept waiting. At 7:25, I watched her shoulders slump. She picked up her backpack and she started walking towards school alone. I pressed my forehead against the glass and closed my eyes. I couldn't walk her anymore. Not with Danny watching. Not with the threat hanging over us. The safest thing I could do was disappear from her life completely. But watching her walk away alone, I felt something inside me break. Thursday passed in a blur. I called in sick to work. Didn't eat. Just sat in my apartment playing the conversation with Danny over and over in my head, looking for a way out that didn't exist. Friday morning came. I watched Amara wait for me again. Watched her walk to school alone again. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. Tanya. Why aren't you walking her? She demanded when I answered. Amara came home crying yesterday. She thinks you're mad at her. She thinks she did something wrong. I'm not mad at her. Then what, Marcus? What happened at that meeting? I wanted to tell her everything. Wanted to explain about Danny's threat, about the impossible choice, about how I was staying away to protect them. But the words wouldn't come. I can't walk her anymore, I said instead. I'm sorry. That's it? That's all you're gonna say? It's safer this way. Safer? Tanya's voice went up. She's walking alone now, Marcus. Those boys on Chamberlain Street, they're back. They grabbed her backpack again this morning. They called her names. She's scared and she doesn't understand why you abandoned her. Every word was a knife. I didn't abandon her, I said, but it sounded weak even to me. Yes, you did. You made her care about you. You made her feel safe. And then you just disappeared. Just like her father did. So congratulations, Marcus. You've officially broken that little girl's heart twice in one lifetime. She hung up. I stood there holding my phone, shaking, and I realized something. I'd made my choice. And it was the wrong one. Danny wanted me scared. Wanted me isolated. Wanted me to think the only way to protect Amara and Tanya was to do what he said or disappear. But there was a third option. An option that would probably get me killed. But at least I'd die being the person Amara thought I was. I grabbed my keys, my vest, and my phone. I walked outside to where my Harley was parked. And I made a call. Officer Chen? It's Marcus Webb. I need to talk to you about a criminal conspiracy. And I need protection for a woman and a 7-year-old girl. Saturday morning, I was sitting in a conference room at the Richmond Police Department with my parole officer, 2 detectives, and a federal agent from the DEA. I told them everything. About Danny. About the Road Kings. About the drug operation. About the shipment from Baltimore. About the threats against Amara and Tanya. I gave them dates, times, locations, everything I knew. You understand what you're doing? The DEA agent asked me. You're testifying against your former associates. That makes you a witness. That makes you a target. I know. These are serious people, Mr. Webb. The Road Kings have connections. They will retaliate. I know. We can offer you protective custody. We can relocate you after the trial. What about the girl? What about her mother? The agent and the detectives exchanged looks. We can provide police presence at the school, one detective said. Extra patrols in the neighborhood. But we don't have the resources for full-time protection unless there's an immediate, credible threat. There is an immediate, credible threat, I said. Danny told me exactly what he'd do to them if I didn't cooperate. But he hasn't actually done anything yet, the detective said. Without an overt act, our hands are tied. I wanted to flip the table. So you're telling me I have to wait until he actually hurts them before you can help? I'm telling you we'll do what we can with what we have, the detective said. It wasn't enough. But it was all I had. They spent the next 6 hours debriefing me. Taking my statement. Recording everything. Setting up a sting operation for next Friday when I was supposed to pick up the shipment. You'll wear a wire, the DEA agent explained. You'll go to Baltimore like Danny told you. Make the pickup. Get them talking, confirming details. Then we move in and arrest everyone involved. And until then? Until then, you act normal. You go to work. You don't change your routine. And you don't contact Danny or anyone else in the club. We don't want to spook them. I left the police station at 6 p.m. Saturday evening. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple, and I rode home feeling like I was heading toward a cliff. When I got to my building, Tanya was waiting outside. She stood when she saw me, arms crossed, face hard. "Where were you all day?" she demanded. "I need to talk to you," I said. "Inside." "Please." We went up to my apartment, and I told her everything. About Danny's threat. About my meeting with the police. About the sting operation. About how dangerous the next week was going to be. She listened without interrupting, her face getting paler with every sentence. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. "You're using yourself as bait," she finally said. "I'm trying to end this. For good. And if something goes wrong? If Danny figures out you're working with the cops? Then I'll deal with it." "You'll deal with it," she repeated. "Marcus, they'll kill you." "Maybe. But at least you and Amara will be safe." Tanya's eyes filled with tears. "Is that what you think? That if you die, we'll be safe? That's not how this works. If you die being a witness against them, they'll still come after us. We'll still be targets. Forever." I hadn't thought about that. The detective said they'd provide protection. "For how long?" Tanya demanded. "A week? A month? A year? What happens when the trial's over and the cameras go away and we're just two people trying to live our lives while looking over our shoulders forever?" She was right. I'd been so focused on stopping Danny that I hadn't thought about the aftermath. "I don't know," I admitted. "I don't know what happens after. But I know I can't let him hurt you. Either of you. I know I'd rather die than let that happen." Tanya wiped her eyes. "Why? What? Why do you care so much? We're nothing to you. We're just some people you met a few weeks ago. Why are you willing to die for us?" I looked at this woman who worked 60 hours a week to keep a roof over her daughter's head. Who left her baby alone every day because she had no choice. Who'd taken a chance on an ex-con because her daughter asked her to. "Because for the first time in 6 years, I felt like I mattered," I said. "Because that little girl looked at me like I was someone worth knowing. Someone worth trusting. And nobody's looked at me like that since I don't know when. And I'm not gonna let Danny take that away. I'm not gonna let him hurt the only good thing I found." Tanya stared at me, tears running down her face. Then she did something I didn't expect. She stepped forward and hugged me. Not like Amara's hug, quick and innocent. But like a woman who understood what it meant to be desperate and alone and trying to protect what mattered. "Don't die," she whispered. "Please don't die." "I'll try not to," I said. She pulled back, wiping her face. "What do we do now?" "Now I walk Amara to school on Monday morning like nothing's wrong. And we wait. That's it? That's it." Monday morning came. 6:55 a.m. I walked downstairs and across the street to the blue townhouse. Amara was sitting on the front step, just like always. When she saw me, her face transformed. "Marcus." She jumped up and ran toward me. "You came back. I thought you were gone forever." She threw her arms around me, and this time I hugged her back immediately, holding this little girl who'd changed my life without even trying. "I'm sorry I wasn't here," I said. "I had some things I had to take care of. But I'm here now. Are you gonna walk me every day again? I looked up and saw Tanya standing in the doorway, watching us. Yeah, baby girl, I said. Every day. We walked to school together, just like before. She told me about her weekend. About a movie she watched, about how Keisha was her best friend now and they were gonna have a sleepover. Normal 7-year-old stuff. When we got to the school, I knelt down so I was eye level with her. Amara, I need you to do something for me, okay? Okay. If you ever see that man again, the one who came up to us before, you run. You run inside the school and you tell your teacher and you call your mama. You don't talk to him. You don't go anywhere with him. You just run. Can you do that for me? Her smile faded. Is he bad? He might be. So I need you to promise me. If you see him, you run. I promise. Good girl. I stood up. Now go learn something. She ran toward the school entrance, and I watched until she disappeared inside. Then I turned and walked home, knowing that somewhere out there, Danny Reeves was watching. Knowing that somewhere out there, a clock was ticking down to Friday. Knowing that one way or another, this was all going to end soon. The question was whether I'd survive it. And whether the people I cared about would survive it too. This is Marcus's story. This is Amara's story. This is about what happens when broken people try to protect each other in a broken world. If you've made it this far, hit that like button and leave me a comment telling me what you think happens next. Because the ending? The real ending? It's coming. And I promise you, it's gonna stay with you long after this video ends. Subscribe if you haven't already, because stories like this, real stories about real struggles, they matter. And I'll see you in the next one.